Alright, today's tutorial was a suggestion from someone, and it was a great suggestion, which is how to show air combat for Alice. So what keeps her in the air while you're swinging and not just falling immediately like that. Alright, so it's going to be very similar to ground combat. It's not that vastly different. So after you have your weapon that you're going to be selecting, and you know for sure the hit's going to go through, all you need to do is just double check, will she in air first or not? Just tells you which animations to play, basically. I've created a macro because I asked this question 100 million times, and I don't want to rewrite this over and over again. That's all a macro is. It's just these nodes over and over again for me. You just select them, collapse the macro, and boom, you created your own macro. And I just named it is Alice in there. And all it's checking is the character movement. Is she falling? And if it's true, pops out the true in the execution line. Otherwise, it's the false. And the inputs. And that's all that is. It's super easy. I use it all the time. So I highly suggest you use one of those if you have a game like that. After that, we're going to check over here. It's exactly like ground combat. We're going to get the combo number. We're going to increment it by 1. We're going to play an animation. The animations are just, of course, whichever one belongs to whichever combo. But of course, she would still be falling because of gravity and all, and that's exactly why we have this air puff playing after every swing. This air puff is going to have a number of 300 for me, and I'll explain exactly what that means in a second. But just know that these numbers may be 100% different than yours. For starters, you'll have different timing on your animations. For me, these numbers change different weapons. Heck, even this weapon, but on the 4th one goes to 325 on this one. You just got to play around with these numbers. Secondly, a major change for me is in my character movement. My default gravity scale is at 2. I found that Alice was a little too floaty. She felt like she was on the moon. And if you look at a game like DMC, you'll see that he tends to come back to the ground really, really quickly, as if he has those boots that Link had in Legend of Zelda. So you just check whatever feels good for you, but mine was good enough at 2. And then, so what is air puff basically? And that's just going to be this function that we're calling here. We'll pretend this execution line goes straight here for now, and we'll just explain the Z. We'll follow that through, and all we're going to be doing, that Z was 300, that's the number we put in, and we're just going to make a vector, x 0, y 0, and we're just going to launch the character from this right here. Launch character is basically jump. That's how the game tends to handle jump, so we're just causing Alice to do this very tiny jump. And then after that, we have an XY override. As we see here, my X and my Y are set to 0. What that means is going left, right, forward, or back instantly becomes 0. We're overriding any movement she had on that, so that it's always very predictable. The player knows what's going to happen. They're going to stop dead in their tracks and throw a swing. And that Z is going to be that 300 we have. This way, if she's falling and her current velocity is negative 301, when she takes a swing, she's not still going down, because she'd be, negative 1 still. And if she's going up by 600 velocity, she won't suddenly go to 900 velocity. We're overriding it, so it's once again predictable. The player knows what's going to happen, and that player is going to, still do 300. The problem, of course, with that is, well, what happens if, you keep mashing? She kind of continues to go up and up and up, and essentially it's flying, and that would, obviously become a problem. One thing I suggest you do is check things like speedrun or .com, or I don't actually know what it is, but look online on Google for speedruns, and there's a collection of them. Look at the speedruns of the kinds of games you're making and see what mistakes people have made in the past. Because if you look at DMC, Castlevania, Darksiders, they all made this same mistake of people being able to cancel out of moves and then go to a move that launches them in the air over and over and over again until they were flying on top of the geometry. You run to the end of the map, boom, you've skipped a huge portion of the story, or a boss fight or something. And I don't want that issue. I don't want that problem. It's fun to watch, but I'll avoid it if I can get there. So what we're doing with that to make sure that Alice doesn't keep going up and up and up forever is we're just going to get Alice's location. We're going to do a line trace. We're going to start at Alice's location. We're going to break the vector. The X and the Y can be exactly the same. Forward, back, left, right, exactly the same. We're just going to go straight below her, 1,250 units. Once again, that's a number that works for me. That's about where I want her to stop. You guys, mileage will vary. And that's where my line trace is going to end. I'm checking for world static. That's what all my floors are going to be. You're going to have to just figure out what your floors are going to be and make sure to create an array of all those. World dynamic I have here, and I actually probably won't end up using it, but that's okay. And I'm just going to check to see if she hit something. And only if she hit something will she launch herself. But if it hits something, that means that this line trace, which is only 1,250 Unreal units below her, that means she's within that range of a floor or a world static something below her. So I know that that's as high as she gets. If she's 3,000, it hit nothing. So she's just going to keep falling. You can swing and swing all you want. She's just going to keep falling. It's only when she's, if this was the floor right here, it's only when she's 1,250 Unreal units that it's going to always hit that floor. 3,000, nothing. It just keeps falling. It'll prevent her from being able to float over things. That's 99.9% of it basically at that point. You just have to then do the same thing for your enemies, where they have to just do their little miniature launches. A big launch, obviously, at certain points when she hits something, you do a large launch. Knocking them down to the ground, I guess I should bring up. That's just a negative number. That's just it. It's just up and down. It's just putting in a negative number. And they figure out which weapon they're getting hit by. You'll basically be playing with it, figuring out what amounts work best for you. That should really do it. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. If you have any suggestions of what you would like to see me do a tutorial on, definitely let me know. I think I'm running out of ideas, to tell you the truth. Yeah, until next time. See you guys.